John Bolton has been very critical of Kash Patel. Early on his nomination, said he was not qualified, and if there was to be, quote, any retribution, he would be the center of it. So I think Bolton might have expected that this day would come, and of course it did. FBI agents raiding that home for possible classified documents.
They're not looking for physical documents, they're looking for electronic records. And unfortunately for John, if you have USB drives, backups, laptops, or computers, most likely they're going to be seizing all of that information. And not only can they get the information on what they're looking for, but a whole lot of other information about his life, what he's doing, and where he's been. It was a surprise to most of us. There's no delete button on the internet. Once you hit send, that information will live forever.
John Bolton is a specific case, that this is something that stems from a 2020 book that he wrote that he apparently did not, or allegedly did not have permission to publish. He claimed he had oral authority, but then he published it anyway. He was under investigation. The Justice Department under President Trump in his first term were investigating Bolton for violations of national security laws. That investigation went away when Biden became president.
Watch, folks, for the coverage later today to just suggest this raid came out of thin air, willy-nilly. These things don't just happen in a day.
There's a large section of the MAGA base, 99.9%, who have been waiting for Kash Patel and the FBI and the Department of Justice to bring supreme maximum accountability. John Bolton is a creature of the swamp who embodies that. He is a very dubious character, warmonger, neocon, a lot of really shady stuff with him.
I think Putin really damaged his position here. You know, almost 1,000 drones and missiles launched again into Ukraine. Getting his last licks in or not.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
As the GOP drawn map in Texas nears its final passage, California Democrats are pushing forward with a sweeping plan of their own. The state's Democratic-controlled legislature yesterday passed a series of redistricting bills aiming to flip 5 GOP-held House seats, which would neutralize the potential Republican gains in Texas. The plan in California, however, still requires voter approval, with a special election now set for November 4th.
Kash Patel said, you should come in and talk to us, and if you don't, you're going to find yourself on the end of our investigative activity, and it's going to be very uncomfortable for you. I'm paraphrasing. Donald Trump's law enforcement apparatus appears to be responding to his desire to relitigate all of these issues where he thinks he was wronged by the intelligence community and the Justice Department and the FBI.
This is going to be a War Room exclusive here from Human Events. That CIA Director John Ratcliffe provided Kash Patel access to U.S. intelligence that served as the basis for the warrant to raid Bolton's house. He was known for these yellow legal pads that he would take notes during every single meeting that was going on when he was the National Security Advisor. And there were a lot of questions as to what exactly was the handling of those notes. Did those yellow legal pads make it home to him? And because there was a lot of information that was in there that also ended up in his book, part of which was leaked to the New York Times before it even came out in publication. So there's a lot of questions about who leaked it in the first place. The information in your mind is still also classified. That's why you have a lifetime NDA. It's information that is classified, not a piece of paper.
55 million visa holders in the United States of America. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yeah, I heard the same thing you heard, and this is really bad news for Democrats. It would be the end of the housing crisis, which is pretty much what they have hung their hat on. We've been totally lied to. We've been told that international students in these American universities, or these so-called American universities, which are heavily funded by Arab oil nations and the CCP, are taking in the best and the brightest international students. We are not getting Einstein, we're getting Mahmoud Khalil. And as a result, so far, 6,000 visa holders have had their visas revoked due to serious crimes and being a threat to national security.
Christopher Wray hid from it, and they didn't let the public know at all. It was Donald Trump who made it public at the end of the day after the raid was over. Christopher Wray, the FBI director, never came out and said that. But yet here, today, we have Kash Patel coming out front saying nobody's above the law. The FBI has said, yes, we are raiding his home. We have our FBI presence there, our agents are there. And with Mar-a-Lago, they were afraid to take ownership of it because they knew they weren't supposed to be there. They didn't actually have probable cause, and they didn't find anything worth using. And we know that because the case was supposed to be in Washington, D.C. The grand jury subpoena came out of Washington, D.C. When I was forced to testify, I had to go up to Washington, D.C. They were working something against Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. that they could not even get enough evidence to indict him in D.C. So they had to scramble, cover their own rear ends, and take it down to Florida and try to come up with a ridiculous, obstruction of justice case against Donald Trump. When they did it in the Trump case, they went to a judge who was conflicted out. Just weeks prior, Bruce Reinhart had recused himself from the Trump-Clinton case in Florida because he said he couldn't be impartial in the case. And then a few weeks later, that's who the FBI goes to get their search warrant. And oh, by the way, they lied to the judge in the affidavit. Yep. They left out all the information about how cooperative he had been, I had been, the defense team had been. They left out all of the collaboration and cooperation on the part of the Trump team. They manipulated the facts to fit the narrative they wanted that were not accurate. And then they lied to a judge who was conflicted out to get their search warrant. So yeah, they did get a search warrant, but I don't think they got it legally.
The Charlie Kirk Show starts now.
You don't feel safe. You might be working closely with Mayor Adams. You may have spent a whole lot of money, but I walk into my pharmacy and everything is on lockdown because of shoplifters. I'm not going in the subway. People don't feel safe in this town. So you may have done these things, but right now we're not feeling good. We're worried we could be San Francisco.
I get messages that say the only good Muslim is a dead Muslim. I get threats on my life. On the people that I love. And I try not to talk about it. Because the function of racism, as Toni Morrison said, is distraction. And it takes a toll.
That's all ICE is supposed to do. Look at them as a fancy Uber driver for immigrants. That's all they're supposed to do. And now they're running into places and doing raids, and they're falling all over each other, injuring each other. I don't think that this president has any limits that he won't go to.
The alleged classified documents may be related to Bolton's book. I will point out the FBI and the analysts after we'll discuss this cannot just go into a home because they want to go into a home. A magistrate judge in Washington, because Bolton's office is in Washington and in Maryland, would have had to sign off on this, and there would be a list specifically of what they're looking for.
If it is true that he's a grand ayatollah, that mystical power extends and he can anoint his prophets, and he can remain in power even if he doesn't hold the title of president. An authoritarian regime where elections are not real.
On December 5th of this year, the 2026 FIFA World Cup draw will take place at the Kennedy Center. Some people refer to it as the Trump Kennedy Center, but we're not prepared to do that quite yet, maybe in a week or so. It's a tremendous honor to bring the global event and this incredible group of people and these unbelievable athletes, the best athletes in the world, to the cultural center of our nation's capital. Brian, do you believe it was getting better or getting worse?
Oh, the crime was getting worse. I mean, I was robbed. It was getting way worse. Yeah.
How did the other guy come out?
Well, he came out with my briefcase, unfortunately. Yeah. Robert 1, Brian 0.
Now, but can you imagine you do this and then you start hearing that they had a 20-year reduction of crime. It's worse. It was worse during the Biden administration than anybody's ever imagined possible. But now we have total safety.
Would you be open to expanding the national concealed carry to apply to D.C. like it does in other states like Texas?
Yeah. You know I'm in favor of it. People have to protect themselves. I'm a Second Amendment person, very simply. People have to be able to protect themselves. Especially like in Washington, you walk down the street, a guy comes up and slugs you. He's got a pistol in his hand. You can be tough, you can be in great shape, you can be a powerful person, or you can be a guy that weighs 100 pounds with a gun in your hand.
Right.
And I'll bet on the guy with the gun 100% of the time. I'm not happy about anything having to do with that war. I settled 7 wars, and actually, if you think about pre-wars, add 3 more, so it would be 10. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack in terms of difficulty. I think over the next 2 weeks, we're going to find out which way it's going to go. I better be very happy.
Well, can you talk about the economic impact that FIFA will have in these cities, and what's your message to the mayors to get their cities prepared, not only the beautification process, but also the safety aspect?
Well, Los Angeles is an example. You know, it's poorly run. We have a mayor there that can't even get permits to the people that lost their houses. Lee Zeldin got every permit. The hardest permit is the federal permit. Within 20 days, every single permit was there for the people to build their houses. But people are writing us and they're saying they won't give us. The mayor is incompetent. The governor is incompetent. You know, Gavin. I know Gavin very well. He's an incompetent guy with a good line of bullshit, and he doesn't get the job done. But some of them could have been built already, and now they're talking about taking some of those sites and building low-income housing on them. These are high-end neighborhoods. And I'm all for low-income housing. I built a lot of low-income housing. You don't build it in Pacific Palisades. You don't build it there, and you don't build it in the other areas that burned down. Whole different place. People are excited again. They're going out to restaurants again. That was the other thing I saw numbers. That restaurant business is down in the last week. No. Restaurant business, you can't get into a restaurant. Just really lying people. And that's why people don't understand how bad and how dishonest the press is. I saw one poll that had us at 19% favorable on what we're doing with Washington. Then I saw another one that has us 94% favorable. And I can tell you the 94% is correct. The others are fake, just fake news. They got to get their act together.
And we have the first ticket here for the final.
Good. Wow.
For you.
Oh, good.
That's cool.
Wow.
It's, of course, row 1, seed 1. It's ticket number 4547. And it's for the final in New York, New Jersey. And so you have your ticket already for the final. All the others, 10th of September, start getting your tickets.
I haven't spoken to Pam in the group yet, but I will be. I saw that just like everybody else. I try and stay out of that stuff. I'm allowed to be, and I'm chief law enforcement officer, believe it or not. You know, I don't like to go around saying that, but I am. That's the position. But I purposely don't want to really get involved in it. I'm not a fan of John Bolton. I thought he was a sleazebag, actually. And he suffers major Trump derangement syndrome, but so do a lot of people, and they're not being affected by anything we do. I don't know anything about it. I just saw that. I'll find out about it. But if you believe the news, which I do, I guess his house was raided today. But my house was raided also, called Mar-a-Lago. They went through everything they could, including my young son's room and my wife's area. They went through her drawers, as the expression goes. They went through everything you can imagine. And when she came back, she said, she's very neat, you know, she's meticulous. And she looked and she said, whoa, this wasn't the way that she had it.
Can we win it, Mr. President?
I don't know. I watch some of those teams go around. They go down that field. I don't know. But let me ask you: what chance does America have of winning?
Well, the home team always has a good chance to win. It depends
See,
how
he's
it
a good
starts.
diplomat.
No, but it has some good
We have a
players.
shot. We have
Yeah, of course, you have a chance.
Will Bears be going to any of the games, Mr. President?
I'd love to have him. He'd love to. He's very tall. Maybe we could make him a goalie. The goalies are very tall now, right?
Yeah, goalies are very tall.
The goalies, well, he'd be a perfect goalie.
100%.
At his height, he'll be a great goalie.
Exactly.
So we'll put him with the American team. After we do this, we'll go to another location, and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one. But they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago. And then we'll help with New York. And a lot of these people that you see on television, They are, including the people in this audience. They'll say bad things about me, and then they'll say, thank God he's here. Because half of them got mugged, and they don't want to get mugged again. But they're, they work for they work for stupid people that are radical left.
If we get it wrong here in New York, you're going to see major cities across our country fall like dominoes. And if you want to know what a Mamdani, New York looks like, look at some of the other cities where encampments are everywhere, a high level of crime that's taking place, failed socialist policies.
Human Events with your host, Jack Posobiec.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the number of unauthorized immigrants in the U.S. has dropped by 1.6 million since President Trump's immigration crackdown. She credits deportations, self-deportations, and even an ad campaign urging undocumented immigrants to leave.
Noem wants Homeland Security to buy, own, and operate its aircraft. ICE hires planes as needed, partnering with commercial airlines through its Air Operations Program. A former ICE chief of staff says chartering planes under the Biden administration allowed about 15,000 removals per month. To double that, ICE would need 30 more planes or to operate its own.
I think a lot of Republicans right now just wish Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, and a number of other Trump nominees would just go away.
This is the third interstellar object, in other words, an object that came from outside the solar system, that was spotted by telescopes around the world. And what is unusual about it is, first of all, it's relatively bright. So if we're seeing the reflection of sunlight from a solid object, it has to be bigger than Manhattan Island, 20 kilometers in diameter. And moreover, there is no cometary tail behind it. That's the signature of a comet. What you often see is dust coming out of the comet and then being pushed to behind the comet, away from the sun by the solar radiation. And we don't see that here. And there is only a glow of light in front of the object. And even more puzzling is the trajectory of this object, because it lies in the plane of the planets around the sun, the so-called ecliptic plane, and within 5 degrees. And the chance of that happening at random is 1 in 500. And moreover, it will get very close to Mars, Venus, and Jupiter along its path. And that requires very fine-tuned timing of its arrival, because these planets are moving around the sun, and the chance of that happening at random is 1 in 20,000. It will also arrive closest to the sun when the Earth would be on the other side of the sun. We won't be able to observe it. So the question is, was this trajectory designed by some intelligence? Is it a spacecraft or a rock?
Watch this as an NPR reporter is basically trying to interfere with an ICE detainment of an illegal. They're carrying out on a federal operation, and she's persistent, annoying as hell, and as whiny as any leftist so-called journalist could possibly be.
No, you are covering me. I do.
You need to back up, or you're interfering with this operation, and I will put you in custody.
I'm backing up.
Back up.
Don't touch me.
I did not touch you.
You did.
You need to back up.
You did touch me.
I'll just throw her down and arrest her ass. Stop it. You cannot get involved. They're in the middle of an arrest. Are you out of your freaking mind? Your journalist BS card? Rip it up. Let them do their job, idiot.